repeat, because I noticed that because I'm streaming right now in New York, in Los Angeles, in London, probably it's early morning, or yeah. So I guess not many of you will join this live stream, but today I'm going to be talking about one of the topics that I don't cover that much in my recent live streams. And well, what is the purpose of my live streams and who I am? Let me introduce myself. So first of all, this channel, these live streams and videos are all about how to improve your language skills, your foreign language skills, and your social and personal life. How to improve your language skills and social and personal life, cultural socialization, cross-cultural dating, relationships, friendships, all those things. And so in my channel, I'm covering not only cultural aspects and dating aspects and socializing aspects, but also aspects of how to learn foreign languages. Why am I talking about foreign languages? Am I a translator? Am I a professional translator? Did I graduate from a university with a degree in some foreign language? Did I study foreign language at the university? Well, I'm not a translator. I have 2 master's degrees. The first one is in economics, and the second one is in finance. I'm an economist. I work in marketing, and I published 7 scientific papers in English and more than 20 in Russian about gold investment. And I'm really far, when it comes to my actual professional expertise, I'm really far. I was really far from learning and mastering foreign languages. And I started really late. I actually started focusing on learning foreign languages in my 20s. Like I went hardcore in learning. And in this live stream, I'm going to be talking about some of the techniques that I used for mastering Chinese and Korean, and some of the specific strategies and tools that I used to master vocabulary from those languages, grammatical patterns, and also teach my coaching students, my coaching clients. As for now, I coached clients from, depending on how I count countries, from 8 countries. I coached people from 8 countries, different languages. I also coached people when it comes to their social and dating life as well. And so, but most of my clients have been learning Korean and Chinese. And in this live stream, I'm going to be talking about memorization techniques that I taught my students, and I also used myself, and how I used my subconscious mind to master foreign languages. When it comes to actually, because I have experience of scientific work. In scientific world, we have this kind of a habit. We have this kind of a habit of referencing every word to some famous author, some famous scientific paper. So every single word should be based in some kind of evidence, some kind of scientific evidence. And so this live stream is also based not only on my empirical evidence, but also on scientific evidence. And so the first thing that I would like to say here is the very first thing is that if you are curious about the things that I say and how the scientific basis, check out the works by Daniel Kahneman. It's a Nobel Prize winner in behavioral economics. So his work is related, his scientific work is related to psychology and subconscious mind, and he's an author of a book, Thinking Fast and Slow, which is about it's about separating our mind into 2 main parts, System 1 and System 2. So one of the systems is responsible for rational thinking, and another system is responsible for irrational subconscious thinking. Another book that I liked, that I base my methods on, is called Subliminal. It's also scientific, those are also scientific studies. Another, based on scientific studies, this book is based on scientific papers and studies. Those books are published by PhDs and Nobel Prize winners. Another work that I base my method on is called, the book is called Misbehaving. It's also by Daniel Kahneman as well. So I think he's a co-author. So all those books, they're related to how our brain works. You can also check out the book which is called How We Learn. And also my practical experience, my empirical evidence. And I've been experimenting with a few languages, and I made lots of mistakes. And in this live stream, I'm going to be talking about my mistakes and what you should avoid. So first of all, again, as I told you, I'm not a translator. I've been really far from learning foreign language. I was really far from learning foreign languages. I'm a professional economist and I work in marketing. I've never worked. I worked as a translator for like a few days. I do translation as an additional part of my work. So first of all, why do I talk, like, let's talk about the reasons why do I talk about foreign languages, and why do I jump in my live streams between foreign languages and dating? Well, because foreign languages help me to improve my dating, social life, personal life, professional life, helped me to achieve freedom in my life, travel between different countries, choose who to date, who to talk to, where to work, where to live, what to do, what to eat, and so on and so forth. So if you're wondering why is Victor jumping between dating and languages and subconscious mind and this and that, well, it's all related. If you don't find the relationships between all those topics, well, you should think about it, because those are all social topics. So let's talk about, so the reason why I do it is to help you to improve your social life, professional life, dating life, and improve your language skills. So let's talk about, first of all, I would like to talk about bullshit advice that is out there. Before jumping into my methods, I'd like to talk about bullshit advice. The first and foremost, the worst advice is association. Hi, sir. Hello. So the first advice is association. So what is association rule? Well, you memorize some word based on some associations. So for example, chest in Japanese is mune or something like this, and then you should associate with money growing from your chest. And so this is how, sorry for touching the microphone. So, and this is how you memorize this word. You create some stupid associations. Well, I tried this rule. I read a few books about association, and I read books by memorization experts and champions, world champions. And this is a complete bullshit when it comes to learning a foreign language. The association rule that they use for memorizing like hundreds of digits, those memorization rules work short term. They do this for some contest, and those rules don't work long term. I'm talking to you as a person who I speak fluent Chinese, Korean, Russian, and English, and I'm learning Japanese. I also speak Japanese. So I'm saying that I tried that so many times for so many years. This is the most bullshit misconception that I've ever heard of. Use association rule for learning foreign languages. You can use it for 3 words. I have a problem that while speaking which type of sentences use, so how to overcome this problem. Which type of sentences use? Can you clarify what do you mean by saying which type of sentences? So bullshit advice is association. Why it doesn't work is because when a child learns a foreign language, for example, when children learn foreign language, they don't create hundreds of association. Like they see an apple and they think, oh, it's an apple, and I should create some stupid. They don't create. Their subconscious mind already creates associations for them. You don't need to consciously think about some stupid like connection with your mother tongue, with some stupid like story you should think of, and like this bullshit advice doesn't work. It's just this most stupidest advice I've ever heard of. It just makes me mad how people think. I saw those like YouTube, the so-called like YouTube polyglots. They say, like, as one of them did an interview, he claims to speak like 20 languages. I'm like, yeah, bro, like you recommend to use association rule to learn. Okay, so imagine you need to memorize 2,000 words in a language. Will you create 2,000 stories about those 2,000 words, and will you actually remember them long term? It's a bullshit advice. It doesn't work. You'll forget the story and you'll forget the word. Like so I tried it and this is what happens. So you create association for each and every word, and then you forget it. Like you just forget it. You just forget what you even created. Like you even forget that you learned this word. You even forget that you created an association about this word. Like this is how it happens. It's like people just don't realize. They think that they create association, they just memorize it like in 1 second. It's crazy. Second bullshit advice. Memorizing rules and tricks people use. For example, like as I told you, association, or some, let's say some cards. Oh, I should like hang cards on my walls, like everywhere, and show this word in like different pictures, and draw some tree with this word, and flashing images, and sleep and go to sleep. And I should like these Germans, like some bullshit German study says, when like people were learning some language, they were using their subconscious mind when sleeping. They were listening to those words, and the group which was listening while sleeping, they memorized words better. And then it turned out that the group that memorized, they didn't listen words while sleeping, they were just underslept. So that's why they didn't memorize that many words. So that's like bullshit advice out there. Hi Victor, are language schools in Korea worth it to study and learn Korean? Yes, absolutely yes. I told you in my previous live stream that I went through 6 courses for learning Chinese and Korean. In spite of the crazy amount of hours I used myself for learning Chinese and Korean, I went through 6 online and offline courses. If you are saving, if you think that courses are expensive, people ask about my Chinese coaching program, Korean coaching program, they see the prices, they freak out. It's not even that expensive. I'm like, why do you freak out? You want to learn for free. Don't learn from me, learn from somebody else, but don't learn for free. Please, I tried it, it doesn't work. Just get in the system. Get in the system and learn offline and online. You should enroll in courses. Yes, it is worth it to come to Korea, to go through any course. Even the worst course here it would be better than learning by yourself. So, actually, it's a really good idea to come here to learn. So, memorizing rules and tricks like hanging cards, like some memorization cards and shit. Well, people talk about spaced repetition, how to be fluent in English. I have no idea. How to be fluent? It's the same with Chinese and Korean, nothing different. So about spaced repetition is a really good concept. Actually, is based on subconscious mind, on how subconscious mind works. And the reason is that our subconscious mind tends to memorize. You can check out again the works of Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner. Our subconscious mind tends to memorize and perceive information better when it is exposed to this particular kind of information over time. So if your subconscious mind is exposed to this information every single freaking day, you're gonna be remembering it, okay? So it doesn't even matter if you see this information today and tomorrow and after 3 days, after 5 days, after 7 days, or you see it every single day. Like people try to calculate, there is like spaced repetition rules. You need to look, like there are they did studies and they proved that there are certain intervals that become longer and longer. First you look at the word, and then you look at it after 3 days, and then you look at it after 7 days, and after 10 days. I'm like, dude, I need to memorize freaking tens of thousands of words and expressions in order to speak 5 languages, and you tell me that I need to create those crazy vocabulary lists and basically see oh, I need to memorize this particular word, like I need to look at this particular word after 3 days or some shit. Like, it's so crazy. Like, it just doesn't work. Spaced repetition is good just to understand how your brain works. I'm going to be talking about how to use it. So spaced repetition is like a principle, not like a method. It's like a principle. What spaced repetition means, it doesn't mean that you should create some stupid schedules around like each and every vocabulary list. What it means is that you should be okay with forgetting and reviewing the same vocabulary list over and over again. It can be once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, a few times a month, every single day. Spaced repetition just means that it's okay to forget, and you should review and forget words. You should go through the loop of forgetting, reviewing a few times before you actually memorize a certain vocabulary set, okay? So it doesn't mean that you should like learn the word today and in 3 days, like Anki cards and stuff like this. Okay, so like people are really creative when it comes to memorizing vocabulary. Like, do you memorize while you sleep? Do you oh, Victor, do you use cards? Do you use Anki decks? Do you I don't even know what this shit is, okay? So I don't even freaking know what this shit is. People ask me, do you know this app? Like Duolingo or some shit. Like, I don't even know. I think I know that this bullshit doesn't work. Apps, guys, I don't even talk about apps. Like, if you have apps on your phone, like Duolingo, in spite of socializing apps like HelloTalk, do you know how to delete apps? So if you're an iPhone, I think if you're on Android, you just press on this app and you try to drag it to the upper side of your screen and you delete. This is how you delete apps. So this is the thing that this is the best advice about language apps. The best advice about language apps is to check out the manual on how to delete apps, if you see what I mean. So next one, creating emotions. Well, we see this Jim Quick's advice, the guy who claims to be extremely like memorization master and like book smart master and stuff like this. Well, like the guy doesn't speak any foreign language. So should people use his advice to memorize, like to learn foreign language? No. So what does he say? He says a really good thing, but it's like a principle. It's not it's not like a method. Emotion plus information equals memory. This is what he says. Well, how the F do I create an emotion around the word like around some like random word? Let's say like how to say cell phone, like smartphone in Chinese, 手机. How do I create like 手机? How do I create an association or some emotion about this word 手机? Should I like jump up and down, like say 手机手机手机? Like should I memorize it like this? Like it's like it's crazy. It's just completely impractical. So if you want to memorize a word, it doesn't mean that you should create a conscious emotion around this word. You shouldn't be like trying hard and look at the vocabulary list consisting of like 200 words and like thinking of how you can create emotions around this, like each and every word. Okay, so emotion plus information equals memory is just almost like a marketing message, I would say. It's not like a practical advice on how to memorize words. Okay, let's move into actual methods. So the truth about memorizing words. So right now I'm going to be talking about the actual content here. The tricks that I've used, the tricks, I don't like the word the tricks that I used to memorize thousands of words. So I'm going to be talking about kind of principles that I've been using, extremely practical. You can write them down, you can post them down in comments. You can actually ask questions in comments. What are the questions that you have when it comes to memorizing? So first of all of the principles that I list here are based on mere exposure effect that I mentioned in many of my videos. And you can see the description of mere exposure effect in works of Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner. His book Thinking Fast and Slow, How Our Subconscious Mind Works. You can check out mere exposure effect when it comes to learning foreign languages and like acquiring any type of information and skill as well. Mere exposure effect is based on the fact that is also related to spaced repetition as well, that you're going to be memorizing information if you're exposed to it over and over and over again over time. And you, as I told you, you go through forget, remember those types of loops a few times. Students on my program, they keep saying like, I forget words all the time. It's not a problem. The problem is when you don't forget, when you don't actually learn. The more you forget, the more you learn, the faster you learn. The faster you forget, the faster you memorize. The more you forget, the more words you forget, the more words you learn. The only thing I wish for you to do is forget more, forget faster, and forget more words, and forget faster. Okay, so like to memorize one word, you need to forget it probably like more than 10 times in different environments, different situations, different contexts. So this is how mere exposure effect works. You're just exposed to this particular information. Your subconscious mind, for some reason, perceives that this information is critical for your survival and reproduction. For example, you're talking to some person who doesn't speak English. You're supposed to express something in Chinese, Korean, Japanese, or any other foreign language. And basically, you find a word to say and you forget it. And then you look at you check it out in the dictionary, and then it pops up, and then you forget it again in another situation, then it pops up again. And so this is the mere exposure effect. What is the difference between mere exposure effect and traditional cramming and what the bullshit advice out there? The mere exposure effect is based on the fact that it's kind of almost effortless learning. It's almost like you're just in the process of doing something, and the word, you just look at the word and you use it and you read it and you listen to it, but you don't take a cramming effort. You don't take an effort in order to memorize it. You don't take an effort in order to actually like you don't feel stressed because you need to memorize this word. And the mere exposure effect means that well, like what is the practical takeaway? Let's say I take a Japanese book on how to learn some Japanese vocab. Like let's say I take some Japanese book. So I actually have a like this Japanese book is Genki, like it's really famous. It's Japanese in Korean. So let's take let's the example of a textbook so that you can see that I'm talking about actual textbooks. I take this book and there is a lesson with vocabulary list and text and stuff like this, and I don't try to memorize the vocabulary list as much. I just read it a few times. This is what my friend does as well, who speaks a few languages. I just look at it and I read it and I understand the characters, the Japanese characters or some word. I understand how to read it, what it means. I just read it a few times and then I read the text, try to use those words. And then I go through this process over and over and over again. It's kind of, I go through pre-testing loops and all those sorts of things. And so this is what mere exposure effect means. And after a few cycles of me reading through the vocabulary list, I catch myself memorizing a few words. After some time, I go back to the same vocabulary list and I go through this vocabulary list. I read the text, read some different text, go through some exercises, and then it turns out that I memorize 40% of the words without any effort. So this is how it happens. If you're new to learning foreign languages, for you it will take more loops. This is the only thing, the only difference between you and me. So mere exposure effect. Spaced repetition, as I told you, it's not a method, it's a principle. Don't view it as a method, as a tactic. Don't think that you should create some stupid schedules around vocabulary sets, because it's really unpractical to do. If you're busy, if you work at a company, study somewhere, have a dating life, relationship, social life, go socialize with friends, you don't have that much time on learning a foreign language. So the only thing I want to say is spaced repetition. Just review words every week, a few times a week, or every single day. You don't have to be because spaced repetition rule means that you need to, for example, learn a word on the first day, review it on the second day, and then after a week, and then so it's increasing periods of time. Don't complicate it. Don't complicate it. I've never used it. I tried to use it. It's bullshit. Repetitive mechanical memorization. It's not cramming. So what I'm talking about is that your brain just memorizes words mechanically. It memorizes words mechanically. So important thing, still test yourself on a vocabulary list, is what I'm telling my students who learn Chinese and Korean. Still test yourself. So close one page, one part of the page with let's say you learn Japanese, with Japanese words, and look on only English translation. When looking at the English word, try to say this word in Japanese, what does it mean in Japanese, for example. So so any words, you see this word in Japanese, in English, you look at the word in English and then you try to basically say the word in Japanese, and then you go through those types of loops. Or the opposite, you look at Japanese word and you try to think, you say how you read it and you say the translation, you close the page with an English translation. So this is extremely important. Go through those test loops, but it's not for cramming, it's just for activating your brain, sort of speaking. It's like a game. Don't think of it like some stressful thing. Repetitive mechanical memorization. What does mean mechanical? You don't need to consciously create any associations, any emotions. The only thing that you need to do is that try to kind of be a little bit apart from vocabulary list. Like I have a vocabulary list books here. I have one vocabulary list book. So the vocabulary sentence, like word sentence, try to avoid those books. Those books have really limited usage. The reason is that you don't memorize the word, you memorize the situation. You memorize situations. So what it means is that you don't memorize just one word, you memorize different situations that you saw this word in. So if you just see one word, like if you use vocabulary books or vocabulary lists, if you just see this one word in one sentence, it's not enough for your brain to subconsciously catch the meaning and kind of the situation around this word. In order to memorize the word, this is what you need to do. This is the process. Like this is how a subconscious mind works. You don't memorize the word, you memorize the situation. You don't memorize you don't create stupid association rules, or you don't use a stupid app or video course. This is what you do. For example, you learn with a textbook or with a teacher, and then you go out, you socialize with people, you use this word, or you see this word in some text, you expose yourself to different, you read or you listen to this foreign language and you hear this word popping up all of a sudden in different situations. This is how you memorize this word. It's not easy. You need to put in at least 1 to 2 hours a day in order to get the process going. Mechanical memorization, again, mechanical. Repetitive, it means it doesn't mean boring. It means that you just read or listen or talk to people. You just use all kinds of different methods of learning. Different contexts and environments, extremely important. So in order to memorize vocabulary, you need to go to different environments. You need to learn in different contexts. For example, in my program, I have 2 teachers. I coach students, and I have native teachers in my team who teach students as well. So we explain grammar from different angles. So for example, we have some Korean grammar, let's say past tense. So atta, otta, yotta. For example, we explain, like I explain from one angle and the teacher explains from another angle, and the students ask me questions. He says like I don't understand something the teacher said, or something like this. So this situation like this happens all the time. Students memorize better. This is what I saw with other people and with myself as well. If I have a few teachers, they expand from different contexts, from different angles. Use different. Also, when you see the word in different contexts, your brain just memorizes automatically. You don't have to stress about it. For example, you see like you learned the word apple, and you basically saw it in a TV show, you read it in the book, like in the textbook, and you heard a teacher talking about in an example sentence. So those are 3 situations, and this is how your brain memorizes words. Hi, I just wanted to say that you are a very impressive person. Keep being awesome, and thanks for sharing your nuggets. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please ask me. Forgetting for learning. So this is almost like a last principle I'd like to talk about here. If you just joined, I'm going to be reviewing the principles I'll talk about. So people, the reason why people struggle with learning, especially if you talk about Western countries, when people back in the days, they were not required to learn a foreign language, and now they are required to learn foreign language, but they learn foreign language at school, and then they forget. Somebody learned French, somebody learned Spanish, and then they learned it for like 5 years, and then they just didn't get any success in it. So the thing I would like to say here, I think the main demotivator people have is that the demotivator about themselves. They think that they're not specially talented when it comes to learning foreign languages. I saw people who are really slow at learning, and I saw people who are really fast at learning. Well, the difference is not like there is a big difference between slow learners and quick learners. Some people are quicker, some people are slower. It doesn't matter. Like slow learner can become so much better and quicker than the quick learner because our brain is because of neuroplasticity of our brain. Our brain is not fixed. The areas of our brain, if you learn a foreign language, the areas of our brain change because like the gray areas of our brain actually change. So our brain actually restructures itself to be more efficient for actually learning and speaking and understanding foreign language. So right now I'm in Seoul, South Korea. I work at a Korean company. I write emails in Korean every day. I communicate about business only in Korean without using English at all. And so in like the jump, that huge jump that I had to do when I was 18 years old, and right now I'm 28 years old. So that huge jump that I had to do in order to become not only fluent in English and Chinese, but also fluent in Korean and conversational in Japanese, that huge jump, it required huge change. Not only in mentality and understanding of cultural aspects, but also like the change in how I perceive the language, how I catch the language. So like right now I can have extremely limited vocabulary in any language, and I can guess what the person is saying just from 2 words because I understand the context. Let's block online strips without clothing. Hide user from the channel. Some spam guys here. Guys or girls, I don't know. So forgetting for learning. The more you forget, the more you learn. The bigger the number of loops that you go through. Like learn, forget, the better. So this is it. Again, let me review. The bullshit advice is association rule, association rule. Memorizing rules and tricks like cards, like hanging cards on the wall, stuff like this. Creating emotions, like you should create emotions for each and every word you memorize, like jump up and down and like clap your hands. Clap your hands now, people clap now. Mere exposure effect, spaced repetition principle. It's a principle, not method. Mere exposure effect is extremely important. So you expose yourself as much as you can in like. So the how do I go about? Let me just go. I'm gonna be a little bit practical. What is the difference between me and other people when it comes to learning foreign language? Right now, I'm gonna go through those principles and gonna just show you some example. Repetitive mechanical memorization, not cramming. Different contexts and environments. Learn at different cafes, talk to different people, have different teachers, go to different programs. Forgetting for learning. Forgetting for learning. You need to forget in order to learn. The more you forget and the faster you forget, the more you learn. And as a side note, as I told you, my advice about apps is check out the manual on how to delete the app. You hold the app, you drag it up to the cross, and you delete it, and you don't install it again. Okay? I'm talking about apps like Duolingo or some other bullshit crappy apps. Those are good for starting, not good for learning. Those are for fun, not for learning. So let's take some book here. Okay, so what is the difference with me and other YouTube polyglots who say hello and how are you and cut the video in like each and every second and like claim to speak like 20 languages but cannot even say hello with the right pronunciation. So let's take some example. What's the difference between me and other people? Like how I learn. Well, when I open like when I approach a foreign language, let's say I need to learn Spanish, I don't know anything about Spanish. The first thing I do is that I try to find the best series of textbooks which consists at least of 2 textbooks, because like this, which are this big. So this kind of text, like 2 textbooks, and this number of textbooks will give me approximately 1,000 to 2,000 vocabulary knowledge, plus tens of grammatical structures. I'll go through these 2 textbooks during 3 to 4 months, depending on my schedule. 2 to 4 months, I would say even. 2 to 4 months, depending on my schedule. And basically, I'm gonna enroll perfectly in an online or offline course. I'm gonna enroll in a course with the teacher, with the coach, some proven A to B system, step-by-step system. This is what I would do, and this is how I would learn by myself. Like this is like I enroll in the system, get the textbooks, enroll the system, get a teacher, get a coach who pushes me. Don't learn for free from apps, from video courses. I motivate myself to go to this country, socialize with people. Here's what I do with the textbook. So I open the textbook, and I don't. So when I read the vocabulary list, normally textbooks consist of a text and a vocabulary list, like this vocabulary list, like text and vocabulary list and grammar explanation after that. You don't see anything. I know it's just for like I'm showing you, but you don't see anything. I know that you don't see anything. So, but anyway, so text, vocabulary list, and grammar explanation. What to do about it? How do people learn? People try to like cram the vocabulary list right from day one. Get massive stress about it. Forget about it in the next day. Get even more stressed. Then read the text and get stressed about it even more. So this is how I do it. I just read the vocabulary, try to read the text, and read the vocabulary again. Read the text again, listen to the text many times. Depending on my level, if I already have a beginner intermediate level, I pre-test myself. So I read the text first and then go to the vocabulary list. So I talked a lot about pre-testing in my other videos, so you can check them out, streams and videos. But so depending on my level, let's say I'm a complete zero. From zero, complete zero, it's really hard to do pre-testing. If I learn Spanish, it's really easy because I mean Spanish is similar to English, and so I can do pre-testing. So I read the text, I listen to the text, guess what it is about, go like look at the vocabularies and just read it. I just read it like a book. So this is the thing that I want to tell you. So it doesn't matter how many words you memorize, sort of speaking. What matters is how many pages you go through when actually understanding what you read. So it's the same with reading a book like this. It's the same like with reading just a normal textbook like this in English by Yuval Noah Harari, author of *Sapiens*, *Homo Deus*, A Brief History of Tomorrow. So this is the same with like reading book like just text, okay? And this is a book for learning languages. I use the same method for reading books and learning and learning languages by using textbooks. I just read, and then I read again, and then I read again. I review and I read. I don't take notes. I take notes only when learning with the teacher. I don't take notes. I personally right now don't create vocabulary lists. I just download them. You can you can actually find some vocabulary, like if you learn Japanese with Genki or some other thing, you can create your vocabulary list. You can download them, but don't be like over focused on those sorts of things. And this is how I do it. I just read. I just read and understand. And this is the first phase. This is automatic learning. You just read, understand, and your brain memorizes 10% of information at first. Then it memorizes 20% of information. Then you forget even this 20%. And then all of a sudden you jump to 35% of information. So you read, and the more you read, the better you understand, the more fun you have, the better the learning gets. You should understand grammar, but you shouldn't memorize and cram it. You should understand the translation of the word and the pronunciation of it and perfect the pronunciation, but you shouldn't cram, okay? You should test yourself. You should close one page, one part of the page and try to test yourself, but it doesn't mean that you do cramming. If you feel stressed after you test yourself for the first time, stop testing yourself. Just test once, it's okay. Read the text more. Like, in order to memorize the vocabulary, you shouldn't read the vocabulary list, you should read text more. This is like the biggest advice here. Read the text and interact with people and use different learning materials, practice with the teacher. But the most important thing is to memorize all those sorts of words, to use your subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind works in a way that it memorizes the information which is critical for our survival and reproduction in terms of evolutionary psychology. If this information is also repeated over certain periods of time, check out the Nobel Prize winner's work. Nobel Prize winner's work works on subconscious mind. His name is Daniel Kahneman. Check out the book Thinking Fast and Slow, how people make decisions, how people memorize stuff, how flashing images, like they did experiments with flashing images. People didn't even realize they were just flashing images, and they memorized not memorized some words, but they were more likely to, because there is a priming effect. There are so many effects. I don't even have time to talk about all of them. You should prime yourself. You should just go through this process over and over again, like you read the book, like some story that you read. The same thing with learning a foreign language. The only difficulty that you will have at the beginning, the only problem is that if you don't have a teacher, this is the biggest problem. The biggest problem that you can have in this situation. And so the next level to learning is, as I told you, try to get as social as possible. Our brain developed around social activities, and we became humans because of social activities. We cannot learn in isolation. So the more social, the more like if you make your learning process social, the more social it gets, the better. Interact with different people, jump on apps like HelloTalk, like dating apps like Tinder and stuff like this. So this is what I do. I just go through this textbook. I listen so many times, and I read it and listen to it and understand it and ask questions from the teacher. And here is another level I'd like to talk about here, another level. So right now, for now, we're talking about myths and bullshit advice and exposure effect and spaced repetition and repetitive mechanical memorization. As I told you, you just go through the list of words, you just read them. read them, you memorize one word for the first time. On the next day, you read again a few times, you memorize 3 words. On the next day, you read again, you memorized 5 words, you test yourself a few times. This is mechanical repetition. It's not some stupid association rule with like creating some stupid emotions. So this is the thing. And another level, this is the first, this is the foundation. It's not even the main thing. Another level I'd like to talk about here is it's called feedback loops. I call them feedback loops. I have never heard of this term when it comes to learning a foreign language. I just heard of the term Duolingo and some stupid apps, but I haven't heard about the term feedback loops. It's the term that I created. So what is feedback loop? Feedback loop is when you have a teacher, a coach, or an exercise workbook. Do you have an exercise workbook here? Yeah, so this is an exercise book for Yonsei Korean, with different exercise, grammar and vocabulary exercise like this. This is how it looks like. So there is a book and an exercise book. So first, let's say those are not the same. Those are not on the same level. It's 5th level, it's 4th level, but the thing is like this is the same. They pretty much look at the same way. So you get the book like this and an exercise book like this. You go through this book with the teacher, you read it like a textbook, you understand it, you listen to text a few times, you pre-test yourself, use all those different methods mentioned in this live stream and in my other videos in detail. You go through the process, and then what you do is that you go through feedback loops using, for example, this exercise book. You go through grammatical exercises. What is a feedback loop? Is when you do an action and then you get a feedback. You write a sentence and you get a feedback on the sentence as regards to your mistakes. Basically, your mistakes, something that you did right or wrong. So this is the most important thing. First thing, in written language, this is what you do. Listening exercises and reading exercises, this is what you do here. Next, you go to a class, you jump on a class with a teacher or coach. And then you do speaking exercises, speaking practice. I do speaking practice with each and every one of my students for at least 10 to 15 minutes, even with beginner 0 students. I expand their knowledge. I ask them what they do today, what they did yesterday, what they ate for breakfast, when did they wake up. I just try to expand them each and every lesson with each and every question. It's like different questions, like what do you like to eat and stuff like that. And when the students gives me an answer, I give him or her feedback about the mistakes, about the expressions and grammar and stuff like this. So this is the second feedback loop. The third feedback loop is listening. We go the student go through different listening exercises, either with me or by him or herself, and then they either look at the answer at the end of the book or they ask me questions and I give them a detailed explanation answer. So those are 3 feedback loops. There are so many feedback loops we can go through, like with the written exercises when it comes to grammar and vocabulary, listening exercises when it comes to grammar and vocabulary and like understanding what the situation is about. Another spam bot, wait a second. So, and the third feedback loop is when it comes to speaking. So this is extremely important, guys. It's extremely important. Why do I talk about it? What is the reason? The reason is that most of the people literally spend 5-10 years on learning just one foreign language. And they don't improve their lives. They don't understand the benefits. They don't get what the foreign language gets. What I get as a byproduct of me speaking a foreign language, it's not just me improving my social life, dating life, professional life. It's also me shocking people every single day I go out. People are still I go to some store here in Korea, I speak fluent Korean, and I just see shocked people every single day. Because I'm a white guy in Korea, and not many white guys in Korea speak Korean. So for me, I've been speaking Korean for quite a few years now, and I see people who don't know me, they're shocked, and it's so funny to me. And then I jump, I take a metro, and some dudes gossiping about something or talking about something, or girls are talking about me, and they're saying, oh, this white guy, this handsome guy doesn't understand what we say, and I answer them that I understand each and every word they say. I can even write it. I can even write it with my hand what they say in characters. So this is like kind of, and I get like people get shocked, and this is what you get as a byproduct. What you get is you get a chance to choose where you live, freedom of choice, freedom of everything. It's just one of the tools. There are so many tools in the toolbox, you know? It's like, what are the tools that you use, you know? It's like, do you master a skill like programming, or I'm an economist, I'm not a translator, I'm not a so I like people when people say that you learn why do you learn a foreign language? Do you want to, like, the stupidest question that I get when people ask me, why did you learn a foreign language, or why did you learn Chinese or Korean, or why are you learning Japanese? And they say, the next thing they say is that, do you want to become a translator? I'm like, dude, is it like the only purpose of learning a language is to become a translator? Is it like the only purpose? And yeah, so this is crazy. People still don't understand, because many people don't speak the language, and when they see somebody speaking the language, they all of a sudden think that other person had some unfair advantage of like living in some country. Or I've never been to any English speaking country. I'm trying to speak English right now to you. So I've never been to any English speaking country in my life. I've never been to Australia, England, America. I've never been to Europe, any Western countries. I grew up in an Asian part of Russia. I didn't even grow up in Moscow. For me to go from Vladivostok to Moscow, it takes 8 hours. I've been to Moscow for a week only, okay? So it's ridiculous when people say that like you need to go to some country to master a foreign language. Or like, I know plenty of people who speak fluent Chinese with native-like pronunciation. They've never been to China. And then all of a sudden, when you say that you've lived in China for a few years, they say, oh, that's why you speak fluent Chinese. It's because you lived in China. Well, first of all, most of the foreigners who lived in China, they cannot speak fluent Chinese at all. Their pronunciations suck. They sound like a foreigner who can't even say ni hao without an accent. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that people, like, as soon as they hear that you date somebody in a foreign language, they think that it's like you speak this language fluently because you date somebody in a foreign language. Well, guess what? Like, before actually I started speaking and learning, like before I started speaking Chinese fluently, I was dating a Chinese girl for 3 years in Russian. In Russian. I didn't learn Chinese. I was learning Chinese, didn't help me. It didn't help me. I was in Russia, I was just interacting with, like in Russia, she was a foreign student, it didn't help me at all. And then I went to China, I started socializing. I went to Harbin. What is good about Harbin? Why do I say Harbin all the time? Why don't I say Beijing or Shanghai or Shenzhen? What is good about Harbin? Well, the first thing is that people don't speak English there. Like, this is the most important thing. I have a friend, so his name is Liam, he's from Great Britain. And he studied in Shanghai for 1 year before going to Harbin. I was like, dude, you studied in Shanghai. Shanghai is a beautiful city. I wish I could study there. Why did you come to Harbin? It's like a small village comparatively to Shanghai. And he was like, dude, in Shanghai everybody speaks English to me. I cannot practice my Chinese. I don't know what to do. I just have to switch to English to be polite to people because they just want to practice their English, and I just don't improve my Chinese. And then he went to Harbin, and yeah, and so this is it. Like, people in Harbin, if you go, especially if you go outside of the university, nobody speaks English. Like, you buy something or you take a taxi, and the taxi driver is like, "你是哪个国家的？你是哪里人呐？你这中文说的挺好。" And you just don't understand the damn thing that the person says because he has a horrible accent. He has a horrible pronunciation, which is called 东北话. So there's a horrible pronunciation, you don't even understand it, and this is called street smart, okay? It's called street smart. And this street smart is actually can be acquired not by sitting at home and socializing with the computer, but actually interacting with people. It doesn't even matter if you cannot go to China or Korea. If you cannot, even if you sit in front of your computer, please socialize with somebody. Like, please talk to somebody. I'm not talking about some bots and robots or some weird things, you know, metaverse. So this is the thing. This is kind of the final advice I'd like to give you guys here. I'm going to be opening a new channel for clips from live streams. It's called Victor Talking Clips. Subscribe for that channel if you can find it right now. Post your comments down below. join the Discord server, and let me know what your questions are. Q&A section. Q&A section right now. Ask me questions. Q&A section. Q&A section. Ask me questions. I'm going to be answering them. If you don't have questions, I'm going to fly away. Ask me questions. Q&A. Q&A section. Q&A section, and I'm going to be cutting those segments of asking of your questions. I'm going to be cutting those segments into small videos and posting them with different thumbnails on other channel. You might be like, Victor, why are you just streaming about dating on the first day, and then on the second day you just stream about languages, and then you stream about some social life, and then you stream about some vlogging thing where you eat some weird Korean food? What is wrong with you? I see people like people are so funny, like they subscribe for some vlog video, and then they see I'm talking about learning language. They're like, I don't want to learn, I just want to look at some vlog. Nuanced. It's nuanced content. It's learning foreign languages is not for just for learning foreign languages. It's not an end goal. End goal is to improve your life. It's not like you don't learn a language to learn a language. You learn a language to improve your life. Please let me know about your questions. What are the problems that you have? What are the things that you would like to do? I'm gonna wait for a few minutes and I'm gonna be jumping away. People often ask me how, like, do I forget Chinese, for example? Do I forget Korean? Not Korean, but Chinese. Do I forget Chinese? Well, so because I've been living in Korea for almost 2 years right now, almost 2 years. Combined, if I said combined, it's 2 years. So, sorry, I missed the start of this, so I have to take it back and watch all of it. I was using Talk to Me in Korean. Have you used it, and would you recommend it? Really good question. So, Talk to Me in Korean, I don't have books from Talk to Me in Korean here. I bought so many books and courses from Talk to Me in Korean. Yeah, I asked that because you mentioned some resources are for fun. Yeah, I use Talk to Me in Korean a lot. Yes, it's a really good additional resource. Really good additional resource. Here's what I actually have a book review on my channel. It's called Best Book for Conversational Korean or something like this. So it was published in spring 2019. Yeah, spring 2019. So basically, Talk to Me in Korean is a really popular popular blog. They created a free podcast for learning Korean with different levels, and they teach you Korean. You can download materials for free. They have video courses and books. Here's my personal experience. I bought many books. I bought many courses, and I think they're absolutely great. I absolutely recommend it. I recommend each and every book, each and every course. I think that Talk to Me in Korean is probably #1 additional material that I would recommend to you for self-studying. #1 additional material. I think it's great. Basic conversation. I think like book for conversations. How's the Japanese coming along, man? Well, Japanese is going great, bro. So I'm using this. Where is that? I'm using this Genki book series right now, and so I'm using this Genki book series, and these are 2 books. These are 2 books. These are in Korean. I just bought them because they're cheaper in Korean. I use these books. 你说口语课本来练习自己的语言是一个好的方法。Wait a second. I have 10% of my battery left. 确实是从基本要开始，但是你永远不要把这个课往后找。Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm gonna be translating the question. This is what I said. Yeah, so basically, this is a really good point that you said. So let me answer the question about Japanese, and then I'm going to be translating what he said in Chinese. So first of all, Genki textbook series is really good for learning Japanese. Genki textbook series in English, they look kind of different, but this is the best textbook series in the world, I think. So the YouTube channel, I recommend you to check out the YouTube channel which is called Tokini Andy. Tokini Andy, and check out the video course. I don't recommend video course at all. This is the only one because it's based on these textbooks. So I use this Tokini Andy video course right now to review the vocabulary and grammar, and I'm going through these textbooks. And the next is quartet. Do I pronounce it? I don't even know whether I pronounce it correctly, like quartet or quartet or something. So the next is quartet series of textbooks. Those are also 2 textbooks with workbooks. And guess what? I also have a teacher. So yeah, so I mean, I'm going through those textbooks. I was going through those textbooks with the teacher, and then right now I'm reviewing it. And then right now from February, I'm going to be starting with the teacher as well. So this is how I'm doing the Japanese practice, if you're wondering. So in summer, in autumn, I was socializing with some Japanese friends as well. You probably saw some videos on my channel. I mean, just one of them. Yeah, this is how I do it with Japanese. And so what our Chinese friends said about you shouldn't make the text, like you shouldn't make those textbooks your ultimate universe, you know, like you should go above and beyond them. This is absolutely true, but I mean, most of like 90% of people, probably 95, those are still beginner, intermediate, even lower level advanced, like still, even if you're advanced learner, you should use textbooks for years before you will be able to completely say bye-bye to them. So you should use them for years. It doesn't mean that when using textbooks you shouldn't communicate and socialize with people. This is the first thing I say all the time. You know, my previous live streams are about dating and about social life and about like what is the difference between like Chinese girls, Korean girls, dating, social aspects. I'm talking about those things because I want to motivate you to actually use those languages. I don't want you to just sit at home and look at those YouTube channels where they say how to learn a language by yourself and in a closed room with a book or with some stupid app. I want you to actually go out, socialize, have fun, talk to people on the phone, via video call, come here, come to Korea, go to some other country, go to China, go to Japan. So this is the thing that I want you to do. I don't want you to sit in a closed room. This is the thing that I say. So your point was absolutely right. And I'm not saying that, why I'm emphasizing textbooks so much is that because so many people, they're using apps for learning and using video courses, although I recommend the video course, but this is just an exception. They're using video courses. I say, don't use video courses because I bought video courses more than anybody out there probably. I bought so many vocabulary books as well, vocabulary list books. I say don't use vocabulary list books, don't use courses, don't use apps. I used apps as well. I used apps, not Duolingo, but other apps. Didn't work for me. I used video courses, didn't work for me. Talk to me in Korean as a complementary way of learning is okay. I mean complement, not main way of learning. You can buy any video course when it comes to learning foreign language that you want. It's a really good thing, but just don't think it's a main component to learn, like for learning. And this is why I just emphasize textbooks and teachers so much and right systems and right methods for memorization. This is why I emphasize it so much because guys, the difference between me and another person who learns a foreign language is that when I learn a foreign language, when I coach somebody, I get a result in months. People don't get a result for years. Victor, do I have to be handsome to date Korean girls? You don't have to be handsome to date Korean girls, and this is not from this is not because I want to encourage you or motivate you or sound motivating or positive. This is because of what I saw from my personal experience. I saw so many guys, so many people who date not only pretty, beautiful Korean girls while not being handsome, while not being in a good shape, not dressing well, not smelling well. I also saw those same situations in Russia, in China, and every country that I traveled to. So basically, this is what I saw. If you are handsome, you have an advantage. But if you are handsome and you don't approach people, you don't socialize with people, you have the same advantage like an animal in the zoo. People stare at the animal in the zoo, people take pictures of or with the animal in the zoo, but they don't socialize and they don't proceed socializing with the animal from the zoo. So this is what I'm saying. So the foreign guy advantage, so to speak, quote unquote, it doesn't work if you don't go out, if you don't actually socialize. What do you do? Like, you come to Korea, you don't have any friends. What do you do? Like what? Like people are like, there are couples around you, friends around you, people are having fun. You're alone by yourself. This is what happened to me in 2016. I came to Korea. I came to Seoul Station. I'm like, what should I do? I don't speak Korean. I speak only English and Chinese and Russian. What should I do? I started approaching people. I started talking to people. Started talking in English. Went to some small bookshop on Seoul Station and bought Korean textbooks for learning Korean. Then I went back to China because I was a foreign student in China. And then I enrolled into a Korean course. Bought 2 other textbooks. So I bought this amount of textbooks for learning Korean, and this is the most important thing. Why did I jump from talking about being handsome or not handsome for dating and textbooks? How did it happen? Well, it happened because the most important thing is social skills and language skills and how you work on yourself, not your appearance. Appearance is important it's important till the point that you can control it. So if you can control your appearance, you go work out, you dress better, you do everything about yourself you copy the best style, like the best thing, and then you just forget about it. Okay, so then you just work on your social skills and language skills. Live chat. Where are the messages that I saw? I don't see the message. Wait a second. Some messages, chat, potential spam in live chat. Oh God, dude, I have 10% of battery, so if the phone turns off, sorry guys. Guys, if you didn't ask your question, oh yeah, I see. Victor, I'm not handsome, but I'm like Kyon Sonyeon. Will Korean girls prefer me in this case? Yes, if you're good at socializing and speaking Korean, if you improve those skills, they will. Always appreciate the advice, man. Hoping to go to Japan with the GET program later this year. Your videos have been really interesting and helpful. That's really good, bro. Thank you so much for the feedback. Yeah, so do you have to be handsome to get Korean girls? Absolutely not. Definitely an advantage, but I mean, so this is like, I see guys, so before this whole pandemic thing happened, in 2019, I was really active in like going out to clubs and socializing and approaching and having fun and stuff like this. 2019 was crazy. And what I saw was that it's just like, I saw handsome guys. So you go to some area, you go to some venue, club, daytime, like cafe, anywhere. Let's just take some club, like nightclub, because traditionally people approach like the socializer and stuff. It's not the best environment to socialize, I don't recommend it, but this is just like one of the good examples where you can train yourself. So basically you go to the club and you see, let's say, 2 handsome guys there, and they just stay with each other. That's it. Or they just try to look at somebody, approach somebody one time, and that's it. Like, it doesn't give them advantage. It's not that they get approached by Korean girls like crazy. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And they try to approach somebody. Oh, they don't speak Korean. Oh, they just try, hello, hi. Well, some girls can actually be interested when practicing English, but it will not be that long. What's the best ways to meet Korean girls? Anyhow, thanks for answering my questions, Victor. So the best ways to meet Korean girls is to actually do it. Like, it depends on what you want and your personal situation and how you like to do things and your hobbies, and it's real individual. I'm more like a daytime person. I tried to do nighttime. I went out to clubs. let's say I'm dancing, I'm talking with my friend, and then I see some girl like next to me or over there, and then I just approach and say hello to her and see, like, look at her eyes and say hello, and she says hello. Depending on her reactions, I say something. I do some free association rules. So this is the kind of the my it was my default for many years. And then you go to some coffee shop, you see somebody, approach them during the day as well. You go, like, I remember I was going to meet a friend, and then I saw two girls. I approached one of them. So basically, it's you can do whatever you want. It's a free world. It's a free world. It's really free. This is I was talking about offline. I'm not the big fan of online, but I actually got some situations from online as well. So I have experience of using Tinder. I actually have a script for next live stream on the difference between online dating in China and Korea. Let me know if you like it. So I just decided to talk about Tantan and Tinder, the difference between them, like what's the difference between online dating in China and Korea, not only based on the app, but also based on the principles of how, like, just people behave, So really interesting. And I find it really practical because of the feedback that I've gotten from some of the people on my program. They just ask me all the time, like, what about Tantan? Did you use Tantan? Is Tantan good? I get so many likes and so many matches, and so many girls are talking to me and asking me on a date, and I'm so popular, but I waste fucking 3 hours a day on this app. Like, what about it? Should I use it? I'm like, no. So if you want to know more about it, like, write the comments down below that you want to know about it. So I'm probably going to be making a live stream about it. Yeah, so basically, being handsome is not as important as social skills. I know I have an acquaintance who is so much older than the girls he approaches, doesn't dress well, doesn't smell that well, is extremely not handsome at all, especially